In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Slides group in the Design tab of the Timesavers add-in. The first button in the Slides group is Paste to Selected Slides. This allows you to copy any shapes in your presentation and paste them onto multiple slides at the same time by simply selecting the slides and then clicking on the button. So that's what I'm going to do over here. I'm going to select these three shapes over here. You can see that I've got three different types of shapes. I've got a picture, I've got an auto shape, and I've got a table. So this function you can use with any kind of shape that you can get in PowerPoint. Once I've selected them, I'm just going to copy them like I normally would. So you can press Ctrl C, you can right click and press copy, or you can click on the copy over here in the Home tab. Okay, so once I've copied them, I'm going to go and select all the slides that I want to paste my shapes onto. So I'm going to select those slides over there. And then I'm just going to go and instead of pressing Ctrl V or instead of pressing paste, I'm going to go into my Design tab. I'm going to click on the Paste to Selected Slides button. And that will then paste those shapes onto all the slides that I have selected. Just be aware when you're using this function that just like if you take a shape and you copy and paste it like that, it will be slightly offset. The same thing will happen if you do that same function where you're copying shapes and then pasting onto a slide that already contains those shapes. So if I go and paste onto these three slides over here and I click on this Paste to Selected Slides button, then the slides that already have those shapes, the ones that I've just pasted, are going to be slightly offset, just like they normally would be when you're pasting in PowerPoint. Okay, so that's how you use the Paste to Selected Slides button. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is this over here. This allows you to change the slide size quickly and easily. I've given you a number of different options of slide sizes that you can have. You have two different square size options. You have 6x6 and 10x10. You've got a landscape and a portrait letter page. You've got landscape and portrait A4. You've also got Pinterest, widescreen, and boom cards. When you're using this function, what I always recommend is make sure that you change your slide size before you put any content onto your slides. And the reason for that is because when you change the slide size, it's going to end up resizing any objects that you have on that slide. So if I show you over here with this one over here, if I change this slide size to, in this case, it's a letter, a portrait letter, then you can see that those shapes have been slightly resized. But if I go and change it to that, now they get smaller, and if I change it to widescreen, they get smaller again. So every time you change it, your content is going to end up being resized. So just be aware of that. You should always make sure that you change your slide size to whatever you need it to be before you start adding content. Okay, then the next thing that you can do with this group is the backgrounds. Now, if you already have been using my add-in, you'll notice that this has become quite a lot more extensive than it used to be. I've given a lot more options now than what they used to be, and it does work quite differently. So just be aware of all the different changes that have happened. You still have the same options. You've got retain size, resize, and stretch. Those, when you're inserting your backgrounds, retain size means that whatever size the image is or shape is that you are putting into your backgrounds that you start off with, it will keep that same size. Resize means that it will be made bigger or smaller so that it will fit onto the slide nicely without being stretched. And stretch means that it will completely fill the slide without keeping its aspect ratio. So resize, it will maintain the aspect ratio, whereas stretch, it will not. Okay. Now I've also given options over here for you to add the images onto the actual slides themselves. So that will be then on top of the slide so that people can select it and move it around if they want to. You also have an option to add them onto the slide master layout. So that would be then, if I go over here to the slide master, it would be put on here, and then it would not be accessible from the normal slide. Then you also have the option of adding it as the actual background for the different slides. You also now can choose if you want your backgrounds to be added to new slides that will be added to your presentation, or if you want to have the backgrounds added to slides that you have selected. Just be aware, if you choose this option for selected slides, then it won't work when you are working with the slide master layout. Then instead it will be added into the background of the slides. This is a new feature as well, that if you are putting an image onto the slide, which is, for instance, portrait, then it will be, and your slides are landscape orientation, then the image will automatically be rotated to fit onto the slide. It will detect that the image is the wrong way around and will automatically rotate it if you choose to have this option selected. So you can deselect it if you want to, if you don't want it to do that. So that auto rotate is to make sure that if you are inserting images that are the wrong orientation, it will sort it out for you. It will automatically rotate them. And then the bottom over here, the background images, this is for when you are using this option as when you're placing your images as the actual slide backgrounds, because quite often what will need to happen for that is that the image will need to be exported as an image in order to be able to be imported and put into the slide background with the correct sizing that you have chosen. So these options are for exporting the slides as images in order to then import them again and use them as the backgrounds for the slides. So here you can choose to set your resolution. If you click on here, it'll give you the option to change the resolution. The default is 300 dpi, but you can change it if you want to. And then also over here you've got this max 3000 pixels. Now I've added this in because depending on your version of PowerPoint, you may find that if you export images that are too large, if they are more than 3000 pixels in either direction, then the images become distorted and they just don't look good. So I've put this in so that if you do find that that's a problem, what you can do is you can select this and then it will use the resolution you have set unless it ends up making an image that is slightly too big, and then it will limit the image to 3000 pixels, giving you the best resolution possible while still keeping it within those bounds, so that you have images that will still look good. And then you can also choose if you want the images to be PNG or JPEG. Okay, so those are all the different options over here. Then also, just so you're aware, if you hover over here, you can see that you also have an option of either using items that you already have on your slide that can be inserted as your backgrounds, or you can choose images from a file. So what you can do is, if you've got things already on the slide, so if I've got these over here like that, they're already on the slide, and then I want to go and use them for my background. If they are selected, then when I click on this button, it will use what I've selected, so it will automatically use those. Okay, so when I click on that, it just inserts all of those as the backgrounds for the slides. Now in this case, the options I had selected were to insert them as slide backgrounds, so those images, and also the sizing was to resize it. Okay, and I chose to have them inserted as new slides. Okay, so after the slides that were already existing in my presentation, new slides were added that then have these backgrounds over here. Now you can see that this is actually a background. If I go to the slide master, it's not there, so it hasn't been put on the slide master. This has been put into the background of my slide. Okay, so that is how you can use images or objects that you already have on your slide and create backgrounds with them. You can also, if I go over here, just say I create tiles 1 to 10 using the tiles option over here. If I use those, I can also use those to create backgrounds if I want to as well. So in this case, I could say I wanted to stretch, I wanted these to fill the slides completely, and I'm going to keep it as slide backgrounds, and I'm going to keep it as new slides, and I'm going to go and click on that button over here. Now you can see that when I go down to the bottom, it has added these over here, and all the text automatically gets resized as well when the shapes get resized. The text gets scaled as well. So in this case over here, this text that was small has been scaled and made big based on the resizing that has happened. So you can use shapes, you can use pictures that you already have on the slide if you want to. But you can also choose to not have anything selected and click on this button, and then it will allow you to go and select images yourself. So I'm going to go and do that now quickly. And these are the images I'm choosing, so I'm going to use those 4 images and I'm going to insert those. And now when I go over here, you can see that they've stretched because I didn't change that back, so it was still on the stretch option like that. But if I change it back, if I decide to make it retain its size, then it will look like this. Wrong, that one. Okay, so let's go with those same 4 shapes, but now you can see that they've inserted into the backgrounds, but they are now small because those are actually small images to start with, which is why they are so blurry in these examples, because they were stretched and they were enlarged. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it has when the sizing option is to retain the size. It will keep whatever its normal size is, and that will be the size in the background. Okay, so that's where you have the as slide backgrounds option selected. You can also choose to have the items added onto the slides themselves. So if I choose the resize option this time, and I can also choose to have selected slides. So I can choose over here, I'm going to select these 3 slides, or those 4 slides rather, and I'm going to add backgrounds to those slides. So I'm going to go and click on here. Again, I can go and choose whatever images I want to. If I choose 2 images, you can see that it repeats the 2 images in a pattern. Okay, so in this case I chose the blue and the orange, and it has added as shapes on my slides because I chose that option for this example to have them placed on the slide. So now they are selectable, they can be moved around if I want to. They've been placed on the slides. If there was any content already on these slides, it would be these would be placed behind the existing content. So let's just undo that quickly. So if I had already a shape over here like this, and I go and do the same thing, so I'm going to select those slides over there, and I'm going to add my backgrounds to those slides. Then you can see that the shapes get added behind any existing content that is already on that slide. Okay, now as I said before, this option where you have selected slides won't work if you're using the slide layouts, the slide master layouts. Okay, then it will be added as a background using this option instead by default. Okay, then you can also choose to have this option over here where you can add your backgrounds to the slide master layout instead. And let me just show you what that looks like over here. So I'm going to have it go to new slides. Okay, and I'm going to choose to keep it as resize in this example. So I'm going to go and add my images quickly. So I'll use these ones over here this time. And you can see that they get added over here, but now I can't select it here because it's not on the slide. But if I go to the slide layout or the slide master, then I can go and select it and I can move it around. So it is still accessible to you. You can move it, you can resize it if you need to, and so on, but it's not accessible to a person who's using your presentation in an interactive sort of way. They can't easily click on it, move it around, and so on. They could still get to it if they went to the slide master. It's not completely locked down, but they can't move it around easily. Okay, so that is how you use this option. I just want to quickly also show you this example over here where you have the auto rotate. So if I am going to put in shapes like this, so let me just quickly go and I'll make sure that that is selected, and I'm going to go and choose these examples over here. So let's just take these three. Okay, and I'm going to insert those. Now I want you to see what happens over here. Now in this case it hasn't auto-rotated because of the fact that the aspect ratio is too different from what the slide is. The slide is widescreen, whereas this is an A4 page. But if I were to go and rather change, so I'm going to just go and delete all of these slides quickly. If I change the slide size to A4 landscape, okay, and I go and do the same thing again. Now, if I choose those images, then they will automatically be rotated because it detects that it has the same aspect ratio as the slide itself, just a different orientation. So it will automatically rotate the image so that it fits properly onto the slide because I have this option selected. If I don't have that option selected and I do the exact same thing again, if I choose those same three images, I think it was the same three images, then you'll see over here it hasn't rotated them. Okay, so that is what that option is for. It's for if you are adding images onto your slide which are the wrong way around, but it's the same aspect ratio as the slide, then the add-in will automatically detect that the image needs to be rotated to fit properly onto the slide, and it will do that for you. Okay, and that is how you use the slides group in the design tab of the Timesavers add-in. I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you. Goodbye.